Hey guys, welcome to American and Texas Government Political Science 2306. I'm Dr. DeMeritt. I'm your professor for this course. I wanted to come on here for a quick minute at the start of the semester to introduce myself and to kind of explain how this course is going to work, both in terms of nuts and bolts and then also in terms of just general flow. So in terms of nuts and bolts, let's start with Canvas. Canvas is the base of this course. That's where it's all going to happen. If you're watching this video now, I assume you have found the Start Here module and you've done the first thing. That's good. From there, you will keep doing the things in that module, and then you'll do each of the things in the next, which is the Instructor and TA Information module, and then each of the things in the Frequently Asked Questions or FAQ module. One of the things that you'll see in that FAQ module is a schedule, and that includes a checklist of every single assignment in the course and when it's due. So let me give you a brief overview of what that says. The course is organized into units. Each unit contains one segment or portion of the course material, and that includes textbook chapters, workbook chapters, and then each unit ends with an exam. All of that stuff, the textbook chapters, the workbook chapters, and the exam, it's all due at once. Unit 1 is due on June 13th, which is a Monday at 11:59 p.m., basically midnight. Unit 2 is due on Thursday, June 23rd, and Unit 3, which is the last one, is due on Friday, July 8th, which is the last day of the course. As you keep working your way through all of the stuff on Canvas, you'll also see information about how to get set up with the book. There's only one book for the course. It has the workbook and the textbook chapters. It is electronic. It is embedded within the Canvas site. So when you go to Unit 1 and you click on Chapter 1, it will take you to Chapter 1. The same thing is true for Chapter 2 and so on. The very first time you do that, it will take you not to the book, but to a page to arrange payment for the book. So the book is $93.75, which is a lot less, more than half other available options, but still disgustingly way too high. If you are waiting on financial aid, there is the option for a short free trial. It's the first 3 chapters of the book, which you should definitely take full advantage of. And if you're working your way through school, or if you're in any kind of a situation that makes paying for this book a real challenge or a major stressor, please, 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 please let me know, and I will work with you to find a solution. I've been there. Okay, so anyway, you will be at the payment screen. You'll get through it. Once that's done, it will take you to the book. So as I've said, there are 2 types of chapters in the book. Some of them are textbook chapters. I want to talk about those first. So these are typical textbook chapters. They're not the most exciting, but they are really important. Except that at the bottom of each page are what basically amount to reading comprehension questions. These are called Get the Gist questions. And here's the thing. You must answer them before you can move to the next page. And you can answer them over and over again as many times as you need in order to get them right. You should do that. You should repeat the questions again. There are usually 3 or 4 of them until you get them all right. And the reason you should do that on each page is that these Get the Gist questions are worth 10% of your final course grade. So you have the easy opportunity, if you put in the time, to maximize that 10% of your grade by just doing the questions again until they're right and then moving on to the next page. Right, so some chapters are textbook chapters with the Get the Gist questions. Others are workbook chapters. These are more meaty. These are deep dives into the material that's presented in the textbook chapters. So you get more colorful, more fleshed out looks at things like civil rights and liberties, like the Bill of Rights, etc. The workbook chapters ask you to engage in small activities like reading a short essay and answering a question or 2, like taking a poll, etc. These workbook chapters, and there are 8 of them total, are together worth 35% of your final course grade. So in addition to the textbook and workbook chapters, each unit ends with an exam. Exams will cover material from both the textbook and the workbook readings. I don't give a review for the exam, although see announcements from your supplemental instruction leader as well. I don't give a review, but I promise you I do not ask jerky questions like, on what date did this happen? Or what was that white guy's name? Right? I ask you questions about things I think it is important for you to know. Plus, one of the benefits of this 5-week format is that all of the material on the exam will be pretty fresh in your mind when you take the exam. What else? Exams are non-cumulative, so you do the Unit 1 chapters, and then you take the Unit 1 exam, and then you can forget everything that's not important for your life from Unit 1, and keep the stuff that has value for you outside the course, and same for Unit 2, and same for Unit 3. The exams will consist of objective questions only, so they will have multiple choice, true, false, and matching questions. That's it. I do work really hard to write good exams, but I'm human, and sometimes I write a bad question. Sometimes I write a multiple choice question where there's arguably multiple right answers. Sometimes I accidentally make the wording a little tricky, things like that. None of that is on purpose, and you should never pay the price for that. So my general rule is that if 75% of the class misses a question, I will drop that question no matter what. That's on me, not on you. All right, so get the gist questions are 10% of your grade. Workbook chapters are 35% of your grade. The exams, all 3 of them taken together, are 35% of your course grade. So in total, 80% of your grade on this class is going to come from the unit work. It's really the core of the class, the textbook chapters, the workbook chapters, and the exams. You could do nothing else but maximize all of your points in these areas and get a B in the course. You might also be really bored. So in addition to the unit work, there are 2 other things that we're going to do in the class. One of them is weekly discussion, and here's why. If we were in person, I would on the first day ask how many of you are taking this class because it is required. And if history repeats itself in this way, the vast majority of you would raise your hands. I get it. I really do. I also had to take required courses outside my areas of interest in college. But I'm also willing to bet, especially here, now, today, that there is something about politics or government, whether it's local or state or national or international, something that you care about. The climate is changing in really dramatic and disastrous ways. We have a long overdue spotlight on civil rights and systemic oppression, gun safety, access to abortion. We have a pandemic that has changed everything about everything. I'm guessing that there's something that you care about. Discussion is how I let you talk about that. This is where you get to take the things that you care most about in the areas of government or politics and bring it into this course. You get to talk to more than 200 of your peers. You get to ask them things that you're curious about, or things that you want to know more about, or things that you don't understand, or whatever. And when you see a question and you have an opinion, or you know the answer, or it's something that you're also wondering about, you get to talk too. So discussion is where I let you take the things that matter to you and the things that you want to talk about and care about and put that stuff in this course. For discussion, we're going to use a platform called Packback Questions. Packback is great for a lot of reasons. Here are my top 3. Number 1, it looks and feels and works better than the Canvas discussion boards. It feels to me more like social media that you use already and less like MySpace. Second, it provides real-time feedback while you write. So you'll be typing and it will tell you that you have asked a closed-ended question that should be open-ended, or it will tell you you haven't written enough, or it will suggest that you add a quote or a source. It gives you all kinds of suggestions to help you ask your question and help you make your point as clearly and as strongly as possible. I think that better questions make for better discussion, so I actually really love this feature. The third big reason I like Packback, and this is the biggest, is that it has an artificial intelligence based moderation feature that is phenomenal. It checks for questions and answers that don't really count, like one word answers, for example. It checks for plagiarism. It does all of that good stuff. But it also checks for aggressive or violent or offensive language and threats and disinformation. And if you try to post those things, it will block you from doing so. In the 8 years I've been using Packback, I have found that it makes about as close to a safe space as I can provide in a college environment. And that's really important for letting you talk about the things that you care about. Okay, so in the frequently asked questions module, there are a couple of slides on what you should or should not post on Packback. The short version is this: you should post open-ended questions that have more than one right answer. Questions that start with phrases like how could, or why, or what might happen if. You could also do something like share a resource or an article or an idea that inspired you or made you think and ask for people's responses. You should not ask questions about procedure. Don't ask points of information about tests or assignments or office hours. Discussion is for substance. It doesn't have to be about what we're learning in the unit work at that time. It doesn't even have to be about stuff we're going to cover in this course. It just has to be about politics and or government in some way. You shouldn't ask duplicate questions, ones that have already been asked. And beyond that, it's really just do the work and don't be problematic. There's an app for Packback too. If you'd rather use the app than Canvas, you can do that. And then the last thing on discussion is it is worth 10% of your grade, and it is graded on completion. I'm asking you to talk about things that matter to you. I'm not going to grade you on what you have to say. I'm going to grade you purely on whether you asked when you should ask and answered when you should answer. So you do it, you get credit for it. Okay, so now we're at 90% of your grade. The last 10% is one assignment that's meant to give you a practical application. It's a little bit of why do we care for the textbook stuff. It's an assignment that involves you contacting a policymaker at the local or state or federal level about an issue that matters to you. That assignment is available, words are hard. That assignment is available to you all semester. You can work on it anytime you want. It is due on Thursday, June 28th at 11:59 p.m. I put it there instead of at the very end of the course for two reasons. First, practically speaking, this way we will be able to get these assignments graded and back to you before the course is over. The second is it gives you a bit of a break from the unit work and the chapter work. So the way I've set up the semester, you will turn in Unit 2 on a Thursday, and then you'll work on the letter until it's due the following Tuesday, and then you can start the Unit 3 work, which you have 10 days to get done. So I worked in a period of time to work on this letter right between Units 2 and 3. Okay, so those are the nuts and bolts of the course. More details about all of those assignments are available on Canvas. Just make your way through the modules. Here's the thing about the flow. Before I let you go, I just want to let you know that I know that the world is super weird right now. Like, it's kind of burning, but then also maybe it's getting better. But then there are other things that are also really broken. It's a lot. COVID upended everything we knew, and it made us question a lot of who and what and where and why we are. We kind of have freedom, but then also women can't make choices for themselves, and kids can't feel safe in school. I have an almost 5-year-old and an almost 7-year-old, and dropping those kids at elementary school in the last week of school, if you've got kids or parents that you're taking care of, or nieces and nephews, or siblings, or It's a rough time to be in charge of other people. It's a rough time to be in charge of yourself. And in general, we're living in a place where too many people, people of color, indigenous women, just don't feel safe. And they're right not to feel safe. And that sucks. And for some of us, that's news. But for others, it's always been there. And now it's like you've got to live it and also be endlessly called to educate everyone else. Basically, just so much stuff we thought we'd had figured out suddenly isn't so clear. Y'all, I'm there too. I'm here to teach you, I'm your professor, but I'm also here to be a connection point with the university. And as someone who has had mental health struggles and deals with depression and anxiety and ADHD and is a parent and a child and a partner and just all kinds of issues, I've been there. And the university has resources. You guys pay tuition, and that buys you access to resources for human security, for basic needs, for physical health, for mental health. University's spending money on all of it. We've got a whole department, a whole bureaucracy set up to help students navigate your academic situation when the world is too damn much. If you're dealing with personal issues or housing insecurity or food insecurity or family crises or mental health crises, we've got a dean of students office whose job it is to communicate with your professors for you. So you don't have to deal with that. You talk to one person one time and you're off and running, able to deal with your stuff. You don't have to do that. Part of my job is to teach you this stuff. I've tried to do that because it's the summer in a way that works for your schedule. I am here, I am available for you. And in addition to the course material, I know how this university has resources that can help you. As a human, I am a resident of Denton. I live here. I'm here to help you. I'm nearby. I will be there for you. So if you need my help, if you want me to get you in help with resources at the university, tell me. And I will get you where you need to go, and I will protect your safety, and I will help you be safe. I think that is it for now. I'll pop on here from time to time throughout the semester. For now, just keep going through the materials. Welcome to the course. Enjoy your summer as much as you can. And I'll talk to you soon.